Hello, hello, it's The Last Spartan from Green Knight Productions. This is just a quick video of my hunter running through doing the Oryx final mission for the story in the Taken King. It's just going to be a bunch of fun. When you spawn up, you'll be at the hull breach, where you start all the patrol missions when you go into the Dreadnought. What you want to do is go from the hull breach to the mausoleum, which will start the spawning of enemies that you need to kill to open up the rupture. So killing all these enemies will activate the rupture, like Oryx is saying, and you'll go through it, and once you enter into these hallways, that's when you know that you're into a real mission that will end up with a few deaths, more than likely, and a few angry people shooting at you. But it's still not a bad mission, and if you can get your hands on a 3 of coins before doing this, you're going to come across a couple of ultras, so you might be able to get your hands on a couple of exotics if you use your 3 of coins.
Well, now we know we have his attention. Hi, Oryx.
This is the room with a calcified fragment in it. I'm going to show you guys how to quickly get it. I don't actually get it in this video, but I'll show you where it is, and I'll give you a few pointers on how to get to it. Also, that was an awesome tether. I'm not going to say that I'm too humble to say that. So it's about right here. I'm going to take a jump down, and you can see it inside the alcove. You got to get down to there. So I died trying to get it that time, but there are pathways that when you pull out your ghost, you can see them, so that kind of makes it a bit easier to get to. So I suggest going to the left platform that has the wizard on it that you have to start the transmatting and shoot the shrieker. So go from the first set of moving platforms there. There should be a pathway that you can see with your ghost that will lead you towards where I just picked up that calcified fragment, and that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Doing it that way, it doesn't really matter what kind of jump you have. Any of the double jumps, any kind of lift, glide, or triple double jump, our hunters should be able to do it. They're really not too hard to get to. A few of them they're a little harder than your basic platforms, but what kind of fun would it be if it worked? So in some ways, this fight is actually more difficult than the end fight with Oryx. You walk into this room; it's fairly tight, and they have a decent amount of cover with the rocks. But what you just saw happen was that after dealing enough damage to the man, I can't ever remember what they're called. These big guys, the Cabal bosses. You saw him get taken in an earlier mission, and we never fought him. So Oryx pulls him out, but at the same time then pulls out the ogre that he takes while you're trying to get back Crota's soul, and makes them both taken, and you have to fight both of them at the same time, as well as a few small enemies. It's not a terrible fight. They're not super complicated. They're pretty much exactly what you'd expect from their non-taken versions, except for that with the addition of a few of the enemies in the area, like the taken goblins, they can kind of protect their allies with a shield. So you have to be aware of that. If you see a weird glow like you see here, that means there's a few goblins in the area trying to protect him. So you gotta take them out before you can really do any damage to the boss or whoever they're actually protecting. And I mean, in terms of an ogre fight, I always like to keep my distance because they can charge and do a really powerful ground slam, like all big enemies in Destiny. But I find ogres are worse, probably just because of my experiences with Fogoth during the Summoning Pits strike, which was long and difficult for some of these.
Well, I guess we're worthy now.
So forget what I said earlier. Turns out that none of my weapons are legendary right now. So don't hold me to that. They're probably not. They're still probably decent, but not great. It's not some sort of like super huge visual effect, but I like this. It kind of does a really good job of, I don't know, giving you an idea that something is coming, something big. You know, from the light going towards the door and the door opening to Oryx appearing from within his own shadow and silhouette. It's pretty. So I speed up the Oryx fight a little bit at points because it is kind of a long fight. A lot of smaller enemies, he tends to disappear from time to time after doing enough damage. And like all good Destiny bosses, there are periods where he becomes immune to certain attacks. And he's also got one really mean super attack that I'll try to point out when I see it coming. There's a few text cues on the side that will let you know, so keep your eyes open to the left side of the screen that, you know, you see anything. So there you go. You just see him teleport, and obviously just as he teleports, he becomes immune. And you have to wipe out all of the ads before he reappears, and you can start hitting him again. And he reappears in the same order, sequence of areas all the time. And it will go from, in this first area, I think you go forward and to the right, and he appears down that hallway. This is where he's going to launch a few of those super attacks and get pretty dicey. So there's still the captain's blinding technique, and I think it's Oryx himself doing that. But when you see it say the air around you crackles and burns, it means that he's basically creating like a super taking grenade over your head with a... Yeah, see, that's a very good visual of it. So if you stay under that, you'll pretty much get not killed, but it will hurt you pretty badly. So he just teleported again, and he goes out to this outside platform. Again, spawns a bunch of enemies. Luckily, the enemies he spawns aren't very hard. They're mostly just acolytes and thrall. Manageable for the most part. So at this point, though, he's getting really angry. So like a true boss of the modern post-Dragon Ball age, that wasn't even his final form. I mean, he doesn't actually technically transform, but he pretty much takes you to some sort of almost what seems to be a taken dimension. Puts up some sort of taken energy so strong that you can't really penetrate it, you can't go past those areas, and you can't hurt him when he's outside of it. So when he's blasting you with those projectiles, there's a few pillars that you can actually get behind, but be prepared for this moment. He will get angry, raise his sword, and charge at you. You get hit by it, hurts quite a bit, and it's your only opportunity to hurt him. Generally after that, he will retreat back into the fog, call up more enemies. Again, rather weak enemies, nothing too hardcore. It's not like he's summoning ogres or anything like that. Mostly just thrall, maybe a couple of acolytes. But you always have to look out for his projectiles. They do hurt quite a bit. They're not too hard to avoid, obviously. And yeah, just pretty much repeat, you know, watch out for his projectiles, watch for his audio cue and visual cue, and when he comes at you, blast him as much as you can. So this time this is one thing that I guess he doesn't always charge first, and then, so he gets rid of 2/3 of my life with one of those sword attacks. And it's not one of those things where he will always do the exact same thing, where he comes in, then he leaves, and then summons. Sometimes he'll summon them so that you're distracted from the hit. So just be prepared that generally at some point after about a 30-second, I'd say 15 to 30 second mark of him going back into the fog, he will be pretty much prepared to come after you again. And just have whatever weapon you feel like you can either do the most damage or nail the most criticals with ready and waiting. Unlike that, where I had my machine gun not loaded. But that was a good trick, actually. If you can get them trapped onto pillars, that's not a bad idea. teleports. They teleport to different areas of the fog. It's not always as simple as keeping him in sight. Because I can tell you right now, I had no idea where he was until he screamed at me. I always question why enemies or even non-enemies scream just before they attack. It kind of gives you away your location that you're probably about to be aggressive. So here comes again. Launch a good tether and a good shot to the chest. And that ends Oryx. At least for now. I still have to do the raid, so I'll maybe do some videos there and show how badly I die. Anyway, so that was the Oryx fight. Have fun, guys.